Hey everyone, and welcome back to Daily Tuition. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can make this beautiful birthday reminder using React. I'm going to show you how you can add current and upcoming birthdays inside the birthday reminder application. So let's see how to create this. So as you can see, on the left side, I have the finished birthday reminder application, and on the right side, I have the VS Code. Let's create a new project inside this VS Code. So I'm going to open a new terminal. Now because I'm using React to create a React project, as you know, I need to say here npx create React app and then specify the project name. I'm going to specify name reminder. That's upon you. You can specify any name to the React application. If you don't know how to create a new React application, or if you don't know anything about React, I have a dedicated course on it. You can check out that course from the link provided in the description or from the top right corner of the screen. Now once you have your React application, you just need to enter into your application and start the development server. So I'm going to first clear the screen and say here cd reminder. So this will just enter inside my React project, and then I'm going to say here npm start. So this command is going to start the development server of the React application. Once I press enter, you can see I'm going to have here the development server of the React. So you can see we have the successful compile message in the terminal. Close this terminal, open the Explorer tab, and right here you have the React project. And inside the source folder, let me open the app.js. Inside this app.js, here we have the React logo. So let me just get rid of all this content right from here. Create here h1 heading tag, and I'm gonna say here birthday reminder. Save this, and here we go. As you can see, we have the live reload feature, and I'm gonna have here birthday reminder title. Now just for that, instead of adding all the components inside the app.js, I'm going to create a new folder inside the source. I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to name it components, and inside this I'm going to create a new file board.js. And now because I already have some extension of React, if I open the extension tab and if I add here React, then you can see I already have here ES7 React Redux native snippet. So this extension allows me to add simple snippets inside my React application. You have to just install this extension to add simple snippets inside your React application. I already have this. So inside this board, I'm going to say React functional component. So I'm going to say RFC, and when I press enter, this will import the React from the React library and export the default function board. Just for that, inside this, let me get rid of this division tag because I'm not using it. Here I'm going to add parenthesis, and inside this, we need to return the parent HTML element. So I'm going to say here main. To this main, I'm going to specify ID site main. Just for that, here I'm going to add h1 heading tag with the class text dark and title. You can see how I create this h1 heading tag. I'm going to first specify the tag name, then specify two different classes. I'm going to separate both these classes with this dot. You can notice here. Now when I press tab, I'm going to have here h1 heading tag with the class text dark and title. Inside this, I'm going to add my title, birthday reminder. Back to the app.js, and instead of this h1 heading tag, here, I'm going to first get rid of this top import statement, and just down here, I'm going to say import. I'm going to say here board from dot / specify your components folder, and inside that we have board file. So I'm going to say here board. And just out of that, you need to just import this component inside this main app component. So I'm going to say here board, something like this. Save the changes. As you can see, this will just print this title inside this application. Now what I want to create a style sheet. So inside this source folder, I'm going to create a dedicated style sheet for these components. So inside this components folder, here I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to name this board.css. Inside this file, I'm going to grab the Poppins font link and paste that here, something like this. In my previous videos, I already show how to grab these links from the Google font website. So if you don't know anything about how to grab the font family from the Google font, then make sure to watch my previous videos. So once we have my font family, I can just simply specify here asterisk and then select all the descendant elements, and then first specify here box sizing, border box, then specify font family, which is going to be pop-ins. Make sure to call here fallback value sans serif, and then remove all the margin from all the descendant elements. Save the changes, back to the board, and here let me add my CSS file. So I'm going to just back to the board.js, and I'm going to say here import dot / board.css. When I save the changes, you can see I'm going to have the pop-ins fonts to this h1 heading tag. Now because in the board.css I specify this font to all the elements, I don't have to worry about this font family. To all my elements, I'm going to specify the pop-ins font. Now just out of that, in the board.css, here I'm going to select the body, and inside this body, I'm going to just create few variables. So I'm going to create few CSS variables here. So I'm going to say here color dark to create a dark variable, color light, and specify the light hex value, and I'm going to add the panel color and the active color. Don't worry, you can get all this code from the link provided in the description. So once I have my colors, let me first select the site main tag with this ID, and then I'm going to specify here display flex direction is going to be column, justify content center, align items, and then I'm going to specify height 100, viewport height. Save this. So this will just center this birthday reminder at the center of the document. Then again, I'm going to select this site main ID, then select the board class, and then I'm going to specify some padding to it. Padding is going to be 2 em to the top and bottom, and 0 for the left and right. Then I'm going to specify border radius, which is going to be 0.2 em. That's it. Just out of that, let me create two global variables, text dark to specify color dark to the text, and then I'm going to specify here text light to specify color light to the HTML element. Just out of that, I'm going to back to the board.js, and inside this right here, I'm going to create a new component. Just out of this h1 heading tag right down here, I'm going to create a new division tag with the class board, something like this, and inside this I'm going to add my list component. So let's create a new component inside this component folder. So here I'm going to create a new file with the name list.js, and inside this list.js I'm going to create a React functional component, something like this, and let me get rid of this division tag right from here. And here I'm going to add ul unordered list. Inside this unordered list, I'm going to have my li tags, and inside this li, I'm going to have this image, the name of the person, and the age. Here I'm going to say div, and I'm going to specify name to this div. So inside this li, I'm going to add flex class. I'm going to create a div with the class flex. Then I'm going to add this image inside this div. So I'm going to add here img tag with the source attribute, and alt attribute is going to be img. And just out of that, as you can see here, we have the person name and its age. So to add that, I'm going to add here division tag with the title class, and inside this, let me add h3 heading tag for the person name. So I'm going to add here h3 with the class name, and then I'm going to add here person name. So for example, if I add here some demo text, person name, and just out of that, I'm going to add h5 heading tag, and then add here class age, and here I'm going to print the user age. So for example, I'm going to specify here 25 years. Then if I save the changes, back to the react.js, I'm not going to get anything because I don't have this list inside my board. So here inside this board right here, I'm going to add import statement, import list from dot / and make sure to import list component. So here I'm going to simply say list, press tab. When I save the changes, as you can see, I'm going to have the data of the user. Now just out of that, let me add styling to this list. So inside this board.css right down here, let me specify some styling to it. I'm going to first select the ul tag. Inside that we have li and have flex class. I'm going to select this flex class, this one, then specify some style to it. I'm going to first specify color, which is color dark, the variable, then specify display flex, then specify justify content center, and align items center. So this will just center this flex box, and then I'm going to specify here gap to em. So this will just add gap between this image and this name, something like this. After that, I'm going to specify margin top, which is going to be 1 em, and text align is going to be left. After that, I'm going to specify background color to it. So background color is going to be var, and I'm going to specify this active background color. Just for that, let me add some padding to it. Padding is going to be 0.8 em and 0 for the left and right. After that, I'm going to specify border radius 10 pixel and some box shadow. So I'm going to add here box shadow 1 pixel, 20 pixel, 10 pixel, 20 pixel, and I'm going to just add here X value, something like this. Save this file. So this will add a little box shadow to this person. Just for that, let me just remove this disk. So I'm going to just add here first UL, then specify list style type none. So this will just remove this disk right from here. Now just for that, I'm going to back to the list.js, and now I want to add data inside this source attribute. I want to specify the link of the image inside this source. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the data from my backend and put that here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a constant variable info and put this data inside it. Now let's suppose you grab this data from the backend or from the JSON server as an array of object. So you can see we have array of objects. Inside that array, you have image, the URL of the image, name of the user, and the birthday. Now you can see the format of this birthday. You will get the actual birthday. I'm going to show you how you can display how old the person is using this date format. Here inside this date format, we have the year, month, and day. So here we have all the data of the user. Now let's suppose you get this data from the backend or from the JSON server. Once you get that, let's suppose if I grab this URL right from here and specify that in the source, save this file, you can see I'm going to have this user. So let me just back to the board.css and let me specify some style to this image. So just down here, I'm going to first select the UL. Inside that we have li and img. To this img, I'm going to first specify border radius. Border radius is going to be 50% and width is going to be 20%. As you can see, we have the first user. Just after that, I'm going to add here dot upcoming and add here margin top 1 em. Now as you know, we don't have this class inside my list. I'm going to add this class to the div after a few seconds. But just for now, once you have this styling, just back to the list.js, and here you can notice we have this hard-coded data. I want to grab this data from this board, from this array, and print that inside this birthday reminder app. So let's see how to do it. Now what I want, instead of printing all this hard-coded data inside this birthday reminder, I'm going to grab this data from this info variable and print that using this component. So what we need to do is we need to grab this info variable and pass that to this list component. And to the list here, I'm going to pass info is equal to, here I'm going to pass a variable called info. So I'm going to pass this data to this component. Now let's suppose you have a controller to get this data from the backend. So once you get the data from the controller, just store that in the variable and pass that variable to this list component. So once you pass that, save this file back to the list.js, and inside this, to grab this data, you just need to add here a variable called info. And if I say here console.log info if I open the console, I'm going to get here an object. Inside that object, I have this info property. What I have to do is I have to get this property from this object. To do that, instead of this info, I'm just going to grab this info and put that inside an object, something like this. And now when I save the changes, you can see I'm going to have this info data inside this variable. Now once I have this data, I can iterate over this array and create multiple li tags. So instead of iterating over this array inside this component, I'm going to create a new variable here. So just down here, I'm going to say function iterate, and to this iterate, I'm going to pass a data variable as a parameter, and then I'm going to say here, if you don't have any data, just return means exit from this function. Or if you have data inside this variable, I'm going to just return this li tag, this one. So to do that, inside this return statement, we need to first add here empty bracket, something like this, and then I'm going to add here curly braces to add JavaScript, and then I'm going to say here data dot map. I'm going to add here JavaScript function, which is map, and I'm going to iterate over this array using this map function, and then I'm going to add here parameter person and index. So I'm going to say here arrow, and then I'm going to add here arrow function. Inside this arrow function, I'm going to return this li tag, this one. So I'm going to grab this li tag, I'm going to cut this from this list and paste that inside this return statement, something like this. So once I have li tags inside this iterate, so inside this person variable, I'm going to have this object, and inside this object, we have this img, birthday, and the name property. So let's grab this. So instead of these hard-coded values, I'm going to get rid of these values right from here, specify here curly braces, and then I'm going to say here person dot img. I'm going to grab this img property and first specify that here. And instead of this person name, this hard-coded value, I'm going to specify here curly braces, then specify person dot name. Do the same for the years as well. So instead of this 25, I'm going to specify here curly braces, something like this, and then I'm going to specify here person dot birthday. Let me save the changes. Now next, we need to grab this iterate, this function, and specify that inside this li tag. So you just need to add here curly braces, add this iterate here, and in the parentheses, you have to add your info variable, this variable. Save this file, and now you can see you have all your users. So now this iterate function is going to iterate over this object and print all the data. Now just out there, you can see we have this warning message. Each child in a list should have a unique key property. So whenever you iterate over an object, you make sure you add key to the parent element. So here to the li, let me specify key, which is going to be the index. So when I reload the browser, this will remove all these messages and the warning. As you can see, here I'm going to have the exact birth date of the person. I never wanted to print this. So instead of this birth date, I'm going to print how old this person is. So to do that, just down here, just out of this iterate function, right down here, let me create here another function. So I'm going to add here a command and say how old the person is, function old, and then I'm going to pass here a parameter person age, something like this. And here inside this function, I'm going to find how old the person is. So to find that, I'm going to first get the person birthday year. The current person birthday year is 1995. So to get that, I'm going to say let year is equal to new. I'm going to pass here date object. I'm going to create a new instance of the date object, and then I'm going to pass here person age dot get full year. So this function is going to return this year from this date format. Let me just save this. I'm going to say console.log, and then I'm going to print here year. And then I'm going to print this old right down here. And make sure to pass this parameter. Inside this parameter, I'm going to pass this date format. So I'm going to have this date format inside this person birthday property. So I'm going to copy this and pass that as a argument. Save the changes. When I save the changes, you can see I'm going to have the birthday years. Now once I have that, let me get the current year. So I'm going to say here, let current year is equal to new date object, and then I'm going to say here dot get full year. So this is going to return the current year inside this current year variable. If I print this, you can see we have 2022, the current year. Now once we have both these years, I can just simply create here a variable, let age is equal to current year minus year. So if I minus the user birthday year from the current year, then I'm going to get how old the user is inside this age variable. If I print here console.log age, save these changes, you can see I'm going to get how old the user is inside this age variable. So the Sophia is now 27 years old. Now you have to just return this statement. You have to return age, something like this, and just grab this old right from here and get rid of this person birthday and pass this old function here, something like this. Let me save this, reload the browser, and now you can see you have your data what you want. Now we know that how old the person is using this variable. Now what if you have thousands of person inside a database? For example, if this variable return more than 100 objects, you probably don't want to print all the users inside your birthday reminder. Instead, what you want to print the current birthday user and the upcoming birthday users. So let me show you how you can filter this data and how you can print today and upcoming birthdays of the person. Now, once you understand how old the person is, I really don't want to display all the users inside my birthday reminder. Instead, I just wanted to get the current and upcoming birthdays of the user. Now, let's suppose we have the birthday of this Miller, the second object user. So if I just change this month 01, and if I add here current date, which is 29, let me save this. I wanted to just print this current person inside this birthday reminder. So to do that, just down here inside this board.js, inside this component, right down here, I'm going to create a new function. So I'm going to say here function today, and inside this I'm going to pass person as a parameter. Inside this person I'm going to pass object. So just down here I'm going to say let current day is equal to new date, and this will return the current date. So this will return the current date, and just out of that I'm going to say let current month, because we also need the month as well to get the current user birthday. So I'm going to say here new date. I'm going to create an instance of the date object again, and then say get month. So this will return the current month. So if I print both this variable console.log current day and console.log current month, then I'm going to have both this console message inside this console. Let me just print this today. So inside this board right up here, I'm going to say today and pass here info. Save this. As you can see, the current date is 29 and we have month 0. Now because this is January, this will print 0. So this get month is going to start from 0 and end at 11. Now because this is January, this will return 0. I wanted to find today's birthday. So to find that, we need to get the data from this person. As you know, inside this person, I have this info variable. So inside this person, I'm going to have the array. So let me get rid of this console.log. Here I'm going to say person dot filter. I'm going to filter this data. So I'm going to say here filter data. And if I say here console.log data, inside this data variable, I'm going to have all these objects. Now using this object, I can get current date and the month. So I'm going to get rid of this console.log. Say here let day is equal to new date, and inside this I'm going to say data dot birthday. So this will return this property birthday, this one, to this date, and from this I'm going to get the current date. Just for that, I'm going to say let month is equal to new date data dot birthday dot get month. Now once we have the current month and date, I'm going to grab the same data from this object. Now once we have both this data, if I print it, if I see here console.log day and console.log month, save these changes, you can see I'm going to have the day and the month. Now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply return if the current day means this current day is equal to day, person day, and if the current month is equal to the user month, this variable, then I'm going to return that object. So I'm going to pass here colon. Oops. If the current day is equal to day of the person birthday, and if the current month is equal to the month of the user birthday, then I'm going to return that object. And once I return that object, I'm going to grab that inside a variable. So I'm going to say let filter is equal to, so once I have this filter variable, I'm going to just return that filter variable, something like this. And I'm going to grab this today's console.log, print this today info, save these changes, reload the browser. Oops. Reload the browser, and now you can see I'm only going to have one object inside this array. So this is going to return the Miller data. Now because today is the Miller birthday, so that is only going to return the data of the current birthday. So now instead of this info, I'm simply going to grab this today info right from here and pass that here, something like this. Save this. Now you can see you're going to have the current birthday. So today is the Miller's birthday. Next, what I want to print the upcoming birthdays. Upcoming birthdays means the birthday between next 2 months. So to do that, I have to create another function. So just down here, let me create another function. So let me add here a comment and say upcoming birthdays. So I'm going to create here a function and say upcoming, and inside this I'm going to pass object of person and 2 month. Now inside this person I'm going to pass the array of object, and inside this 2 month I'm going to print how many months of upcoming person data I want to print. For example, if I specify here 2, it will return only upcoming 2 months data. So let's see what I want to say. Here inside this upcoming, I'm going to get the month. So I'm going to say here let current is equal to new date, and then I'm going to say get month. After that, I'm going to say let current day is equal to new day get day. So as you know, both these statement is going to return date and the month. Just for that, as you know, inside this person variable, I'm going to pass the array of object. So I'm going to say here person dot filter, and I'm going to filter the data. So I'm going to say here data, and inside this data variable, I'm going to have objects, and inside that object, I'm going to have img property, name property, and the birthday property. So let me just grab this statement, and here I'm going to say let month is equal to new date, and inside this I'm going to say data dot birthday. So this is going to return user birthday month inside this variable. Just like that, let me copy this, and here I'm going to say let day is equal to new date, and I'm going to call get date method, and inside this date I'm going to pass data dot birthday. Let me just change this variable name. Instead of current, I'm going to say current month. Here I'm going to add an expression to get the upcoming birthdays. To do that, I'm going to first say here month. I'm going to get the user month if it is greater than or equal to the current month, and if the user month is less than or equal to the current month plus 2 month. 2 month is the parameter, this one. For now, let's get rid of this parameter, and if I pass here 2, then this is going to return upcoming 2 months birthday. So once I have this expression, I'm going to just return that, something like this. And once I return the object from this filter, I'm going to get that inside a variable. So I'm going to say here let filter is equal to, and then I'm going to return that object here. So I'm going to say here return filter, something like this. Now let me save these changes back to the board component, and just out of this list, here I'm going to add h2 heading tag, and I'm going to say here upcoming and save the changes. And to this h2 heading tag, I'm going to specify upcoming and text dark, something like this. Now, as you can see, we have the upcoming class here. So inside this board.css, I'm going to pass top margin to this upcoming division tag. Now, just out of this h2 heading tag, just down here, I'm going to copy this list and specify that here. And instead of today's, right now, I'm going to pass this upcoming function, just like this. And as you know, inside this info, we have the array of object. So this will pass to this person, and to this 2 month, I'm not going to pass anything because we already have value here. You can notice we have 2 values here. So this will return upcoming 2 months birthday. Let me save this. As you can see, we have 3 persons here. Now let me close this console message, and now you can see here inside this upcoming, we have 1 duplicate data. So what I want to remove this current birthday from this upcoming. So to remove that, we need to add only 1 statement. So what we have to do is, we have to just back to the upcoming function and write down here I'm going to say if the current day equal to the day of the user, then just return means exit from this function. That's it. Now when I save the changes, you can see now we don't have any duplicate data, and we have the current and upcoming birthdays. Now instead of this 2, I can now pass here 2 month, and when I call this upcoming inside this board, right here I can pass upcoming 2 months birthday or 3 months birthday. That's upon you. You can pass any value here between 1 to 12. Let me say this. In upcoming 3 months, we have 3 birthdays. If I add here 2 and save the changes, you can see in upcoming 2 months, we have only 2 birthdays. Now, at the end, I want to change the background color of this upcoming birthdays. So to change that, this upcoming, I'm going to pass here a property called upcoming is equal to true. Save this back to the list.js. And inside this iterate function, I'm going to call this upcoming property. So I'm going to back to the list.js here. I'm going to say upcoming. I'm going to pass this to the iterate function, upcoming, something like this, and grab that as a flag. And just out of this if statement, here I'm going to say constant bg color is equal to flag. If we have true inside this flag, then I'm going to return an object with background color with hex value. So let me just copy hex value from my CSS and specify that here, something like this. And if we have nothing or false inside this flag variable, just return an empty object. That's it. And then to this flex, here I'm going to specify style, and inside this object I'm going to specify bg color. That's it. Let me save the changes. Now you can see we have light yellow color to this upcoming birthdays and the green color to the active birthday. Now I have a simple exercise for you. You have to add here recent birthdays of the person. Let me see how you achieve this goal. So I hope you understand how to make birthday reminder using React. If you find anything useful, make sure to press the like button, share this video with your friends, subscribe for more latest videos. That is all for now. I will see you in the next one.